Doug Davis with Coranby Realty and with another edition of Ask Doug. So what I wanted to talk about today was the oceanfront disclosure, which was front page news a couple of days ago here in Hawaii. And well, what's up with that? What's going on? What's all the hullabaloo about that? Well, legislature is looking to the real estate community to disclose some newer issues relating to climate change and sea level rise, and to add that to our existing oceanfront addendum. We've had an oceanfront addendum for some time, which gives a buyer some idea of some of the issues, but there's more issues now. So let's talk about that. So what is disclosed and what should the buyer know? So let's just go over the addendum. I'm just gonna go over the highlights of things that will make you pause. So the coastal processes, the sea level rising, the waves and such, they can add to the property or they can take away from the property. So your oceanfront property is subject to change, your land area. So for example, if you bought 10,000 square feet of land, maybe it erodes it and you have 9,000 square feet of land. It might make an even bigger difference if you had a certain square footage that allowed you to put 2 homes on it, and it ate away the shoreline, and now you have less land area. Now you can only put 1 house on the property. So that's something to be aware of. So the end result of that is that your square footage could change. Properties are located in certain flood zone, high wave areas, tsunami inundation area, and may be subject to damage, additional building or engineering or elevation requirements. So if you're rebuilding or just doing a remodel or building a new home, you may have different requirements, additional requirements that cost more money than, say, someone up on a mountain that doesn't have to do any of that. All right, there's threats to coastal properties due to sea level rise. Well, we have to understand that there's different issues relating to the property. There's streams, rivers, there's hurricane waves, there's tsunamis, there's rain flooding, and there's all kinds of different things that can happen to a property. We're really talking about ocean here. And all of those different types of things I just mentioned may also have different insurances, different insurance coverages for those types. A different type of insurance for flooding from a river that would be different than water coming in from, say, a tsunami. So be aware of that. Here's one. It's difficult to predict how government entities such as zoning, land use, and permitting authorities and the private sector such as insurance companies will respond over time. So that's an interesting concept. If homes are being washed away on the North Shore, then maybe they can't get insurance, for example. Or if they're allowed to rebuild, you know, how are they going to do it? I'm sure it would have to have different engineering standards. So, and this one I thought was kind of cheesy, but you know, it's going to be an issue. So the properties that are totally damaged and the house structural has been damaged beyond ability, and then you no longer can build the home because it washed away too much of the land area. You no longer have the 40-foot setback. Are you going to go back and remove the rest of the house? So the government is saying here that that they may have laws enacted to force you to remove the rest. I mean, if your house is no good, maybe you just get on a plane and leave. So, and then the state would be stuck with removing the dangerous wood that's left on the property. And then some people try to increase their land area in the sand by planting and watering vegetation so that the vegetation grows out further towards the ocean. And that's not apparently legal. It's supposed to be the normal ebb and flow of the vegetation line is how they determine the shoreline boundary between the state land and the private land. Okay, then that's pretty much everything on, well, buyer's lender may require flood insurance as a condition of obtaining financing, and the buyer may be required to obtain an elevation certificate. Elevation to know how high the property is, or the house where you're planning on putting the house or existing home is above existing high sea level. So that could be determined. And then there's one more newer thing, and that's the Senate Bill 474, which is going through right now, requires that mandatory seller disclosure in the real estate transactions that identify properties lying within the sea level rise exposure area. So I'm going to share this with you. So this is what they want, is to have a NOAA tool, NOAA tool, and it's a sea level rise viewer. So here's South Shore, Diamond Head here, Waikiki here, and we're here now. And if we go up 1 foot, you can see a little bit on LOI has changed, but not too much. 2 feet, 3 feet. 3 feet makes a difference. 4 feet. 4 feet is disastrous for central Honolulu. I just looked up sea level rise can go up to about 195 more feet should all the ice melt on the planet, 195 feet. And interestingly, 426 feet lower when we had the last ice age. So, which brings me to my personal opinion is I think we should be hardening all of our shorelines to keep the water out. I think it's, I think the current thought of our government and many groups is that we should save our sand and not allow single family properties to preserve their land and not have the ability to harden the front of their property facing the ocean. And my thought on that is that's ridiculous, because we're not going to have any beaches anywhere on Oahu should the sea level continue to rise. So we should be preserving our land so that the soil doesn't go out and destroy all of our reefs. So I think quite the opposite. I think we should be hardening everywhere we possibly can. Just a thought. Of course, if we go up to 195 feet, it won't matter whatsoever, I don't think. But if it's just a few feet, 3 feet, then we should be doing things to preserve our land, preserve our island. anyway, that's where we're going with this, but it's buyer beware, buyer be knowledgeable, buyer go in with eyes wide open. And this tool here, I think is very useful for showing a buyer that their proposed purchase, what might happen coming up in the future should this keep on going and have high sea level changes. So there you go. Hope that was interesting, and love having your input and other questions. All right, everyone have a great week.